There we are live, I think.
I think so. Is it going? Yes, maybe. Live and zero. Might have to do
There we
this.
popped up
there
there.
we are. Yay!
Okay,
Hey, welcome back to our living room.
I'm Greg.
And I'm Julie Gorman. Super excited to have you back with us today. We are going to be unpacking kind of what we do this entire month of December.
December's a really, really key month for us because December is what helps us begin to put some thought and shape to the upcoming year. And we just take a lot of time to really consider what this time next year might look like. And there's a few steps and a few pieces of that process that we thought we might share with you today and talk about a little bit. And maybe it'll help you have the greatest year next year that you've ever had in your entire life. Wouldn't that be cool?
That would be cool. I love the month of December because we kind of lead up to it. I think it starts for us around the October frame because we're always reflecting back of what has happened. Is there anything in the last quarter that God wants us to focus in on, to zero in on, to believe Him for, or ask Him for, to be changed, to be transformed?
Yeah, we did some fasts earlier in the year, and those fasts in that October time frame all the way through up until now have been for various things, but one of the central points has been really to give us some perspective about really what we should ask for in the upcoming year, right?
Yeah. So as we entered into December, it was pretty encouraging because sometimes as we reflect on the previous year and start asking God what it is that a central word, a central theme that He has for us for the following year, sometimes it can happen instantaneously. Sometimes it takes all month
a lot more
long.
work. Yeah. that's
Sometimes
true.
it bleeds over into January and we're still waiting.
I need my word.
I need my word.
Yeah.
But this year it was pretty fun because, and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that we did fast in October, we did fast in November, and highlighted 7 things that we were going to believe for this last quarter of the year. And it was really encouraging, and maybe you can tell a little bit of the process of what we did and how we landed on our word for.
Well, I mean, I can start us off and we'll just kind of tag team it. How about that?
All right, that sounds good.
So as we talked about, we started out with some periodic fasts, but the purpose of those fasts, or at least one of the purpose of those, is just to draw closer so that we can hear God's voice more clearly. It's to help eliminate the distractions. And one of the things that when this idea of fasting, which sometimes isn't a real popular, it's not a faddish sort of thing that people typically want to really get on board with. I know these chairs are kind of awkward.
I know they are, but we'll figure out something else for next week.
Anyway,
we wanted to show off our Christmas tree, though.
it's Christmas time. Anyway, when we are fasting, it's less about depriving ourselves of something, although that is a part of it. There is something that we will give up so that when we have the desire for that one thing, that it reminds us why we're doing what we're doing, which is to press in so that we can hear God's voice more clearly. Yes?
Right.
And so we started this process, and we actually were really intensely busy during this time frame. We had several speaking engagements. We had a lot of different projects that were coming to a head, and we've got 2 teenagers, so it's always a busy season, right?
Right.
And I only mention that because I think it's easy at different times for us to make an excuse for not doing some of the disciplines, if you will, that we need to do. But the inspired discipline in the lead up to this for us is really how we feel after we complete a fast, what we gain during that process of fasting. So as we were leading in, we've been seeking God for direction for 2018 during this process for the last quarter, and it led us up to just recently, which was just a couple of days ago, when we were praying and asking God, what's your direction for us for 2018? Now, we know for sure, at least we certainly believe, that God has called us to marriage. We do know that. we have an anointing to minister to marriage, and but beyond that, or even more refined of a message in that, we were looking for what do you want for us, or what do you want from us specifically in 2018? And those are two of the questions I know that.
Questions.
What would you add to that piece of it specifically?
So a couple things. We got a lot of emails. Thank you everybody for who's responding to our email list. If you haven't subscribed to that, it's free. Once a week we send you a word of encouragement that we'll unpack in greater detail here, but it's a condensed version, so that way if you miss a Facebook Live, you have it in a written form. And if you're like me, I like to see it too. So we did get a lot of responses and people saying, this was a tough year. It was a tough year for us to come together. It was a tough year to have some of those spiritual disciplines like fasting and praying together as a couple. And a lot of the questions centered around how do you do that and what does that look like? And so for us, when we fast, we're not necessarily even fasting the same things.
Yeah, sometimes we don't.
So when it comes,
sometimes we do, sometimes we don't.
Right,
so that's
right.
fair. Yep.
We like to fast the same things because then we can serve as a support to one another. But there are times where it might be a fast of food or a fast of a caffeine drink, or it could be a fast from social media. And so there's a lot of different ways that a fast can take place. I do think that it's important to be wise about that and to make sure that what you're fasting, as Greg said earlier, it's not just what you're getting rid of, but that you're making room for God. And that's the most important part of the fast, because God doesn't need us to do anything for him. Right. But as we posture ourselves through fasting, I like fasting because when I have a temptation to go do that thing or that habit to grab that energy drink or that habit to go onto social media first thing in the morning versus spending my quiet time. When I'm fasting, it's a spiritual discipline. It's an offering to God, and it reminds me to seek him first. And so I use those, temptation might be a strong word, but those triggers, those points where I have a desire for something, I'm feeling...
Depends on what day or how far we're into the fast. If it's within the first 24 hours, it's a temptation. You know what I mean? If it's within the last 24 hours, if it's a 3, 5, 7,
but if you don't like the word temptation, you can use the word trigger. Either way, it's that place where all of a sudden the habit, the trigger, the temptation pops up, and then it serves to say, oh, you know what, God, I want you more than I want this immediate gratification.
Makes me think of that story in the Bible. Was it Esau?
Yes.
Who sold his birthright for a bowl of stew, right? And my whole life, I've always thought, what a bonehead. You know what I mean? How you gonna, I mean, what was he thinking?
Right.
Yet, not just when I'm fasting, but at different times. God's given us all some great promises, and he's given us a great plan to follow in his word. And so often I find myself just wanting to kind of make a little compromise here or there. And like I said, it's not just during a time of fast. Thanks to all of y'all who are saying hello there. Hi, Alice.
Alice. Hi, Alice.
Audrey.
No, it's Adney. Adney.
Sorry,
I can't Aaron.
See very good.
We need glasses. We have an eye appointment scheduled.
We do have an eye appointment scheduled, and we do need glasses. Anyway, back to we should probably move through the fasting piece. I think they get the idea on that. Lest the whole show ends up being about fasting.
Yeah. The second part of it really is then, as Greg talked about, where we're asking God, what is it that you want for us? And what is it that you want from us? And that allows us to realize where we're accountable to God in the new year. What does he want from us? What are the things that we need to put our concentration or our attention to? And what is it that he wants for us? What does he want us to believe for? What does our Father, our Heavenly Father, want to give us in the new year? Which brings us to kind of the manage for, manage against. Do you have thoughts with that?
Well, with the comment that you said before, what he wants for and what he wants from, we were praying this year specifically, Lord, what we felt impressed in 2017 that God wanted us to rise up, that He was calling us to rise up, and in that He also was calling us to believe for more, and that actually was a little bit uncomfortable for us, right? I mean, it sounds really exciting, but you may have heard me speak before about this idea that it's easy for me to believe for things that I can figure out how I can make
Put
it
our
happen.
mind or what
right?
we could do. Right.
But it's a whole different thing. It's a whole different test of faith to truly believe, to ask and believe for something that is beyond anything that I could figure out or comprehend how to cause, right? And so that led us up to in this year, as we were wrapping up the year, we thought, well, in October we started praying and fasting again, as we mentioned earlier, and we asked, what we don't even know what to ask for. I mean, there's some fleshly things, right? Some very superficial things, in other words, to use maybe a better term that's more modern day, that we could ask for. I'd like to have $1 million and a barrel full of spending money. That'd be cool, right? I'm in. You in?
I'm in, yeah.
But it felt like, maybe there were some other things that He would even want us to ask for. So in our final fast, leading into this, we asked, Lord, what would you have us ask you for? And He gave us a list of 7 different things. In fact, we started out with the idea of a 3-day fast. I went back to fasting again, I'm sorry. But I guess that's where the Lord wants us to be. But we started with a 3-day fast, and it ended up being a 5-day fast. It was extended a couple of days because we didn't feel like we were done hearing what He wanted us to ask for, and we didn't feel we had completion on the list of things. And so we stayed with that until we felt like we had everything that He would have us ask for. And they're big ask, Can I share one or two of them? You want to share one or two of them?
Yeah, I think just as a note for you, 2 questions, if you're following along, it's to ask God simply, what do you want for us and what do you want from us? 2 great questions that open your mind to begin to receive from God, because He is speaking and He does want something from us, and He also wants something for us.
Yeah. So I'm sorry if I let us off point
No,
there.
that's good.
We were talking a little bit earlier about some of you all who wrote in and said you had some, a difficult year, and that it was difficult to press into one another, and difficult to fast together, difficult to pray with one another. And hey, look, we get it. When and if you are not in a place when you can do this together, then at least do it for yourself. Because what we found is that we've talked a lot about the very first phase of this process so far in this call. There's more that we want to get to, but if we do this individually first, then we begin to set ourselves up to be able to set a vision for this time next year. And the next piece of the process that we go through in this is reflection. Whereas we ponder 2017 up to this point, right?
Right.
And we're asking ourselves, what went well? What can we celebrate December 2018 that we could only hope to have 2017, that we could have only hoped to celebrate. It happens at least once every episode. That we could have only hoped to celebrate in December of 2016. And there was a lot of things. Yeah. We have another book that's getting ready to launch. We have an increase in how much we're being booked for speaking, and just lots of good things inside of the family nucleus for us. So many good things that have happened. And so as we reflect, one of the things that we do, and John Maxwell encouraged us to do this, was to look at where our time was spent. And if we take some time and just look back over our calendar, it's actually easier than you would think that it is, or at least it has been in our experience, to recognize where some of the time wasters are. And or some things that we started doing that we want to make sure we're doing more of in 2018, because they help, draws closer to where we think we need to be. So the next question
would be, what are some of the things that we want to replicate in 2018, and what are some of the things we want to avoid? What are some of the things that we want to make sure that we remove so that we have time to do what's most optimal? And so as you start doing these questions, again, you can ask God, what is it that you want from us? What is it that you want for us? What do I need to remove from my schedule so that I can make room for that? And what do I need to add to my schedule to enhance what it is that you're doing? And during that whole time, we begin to get feelings, or we begin to start thinking about central words that stand out in our thoughts. The other part of that, before we get to the words though, is we begin to look at an end vision. And maybe you could just share about getting the vision for 2018.
Well, I think it would be better, maybe, if we flip-flop that, because we've begun. I'm just, for us, this is where we're just giving it to you raw. You know what I mean?
Yep.
There's you'd be amazed at how, well, I won't even go there. Anyway.
Hello. Oh, it's Michelle. Hi, Michelle. Hi, Melinda. Hi, Patricia. Thanks for joining.
I'm glad you can see those names.
Yeah.
I'm so happy.
He needs glasses worse than I do.
Yeah, apparently. Anyway, our word, once we get the word, if we're really struggling with that, then we will begin to, and we have begun to think about vision for 2018. No question about it. But if we can land on a word or a theme, even a sentence sometimes that we feel like is sort of our guidepost for the year, then it helps bring shape to the vision. I mean, it really helps bring shape to the vision, because if this is what God is asking from us or for us, either way, and both in this case this year. You're excited to say something.
I want to share.
All right, let me hush and let this woman have
I'm so excited.
You got the mic, yo.
Okay, so for this year, what's awesome is in the last couple years, we've gotten really close to a similar word.
Close to the same word, but not exactly the same word.
Like he had the word seize and I had the word arise, and both of them had the same feeling or meaning. Essence of it. But this year we actually landed on the exact same word, and that word is increase.
Yeah.
And it was so exciting as we were praying, and again, we commit to it the whole month of December. We're just going to wait until we get the word for the following year. In this case, 2018. And the two words that came to mind were favor and increase, and they were closely related. But as we prayed about it, it became instantaneously clear that what God wanted from us was increase. He wants us to grow from the inside out.
Yes.
He wants us to become greater. He wants us to, in our size, not necessarily physical size, but in our size.
Well, I think he wants that for me as I go to the gym.
Biceps anyway. All right. He wants us to increase. He wants us to become more and increase and grow. And
so can I clarify that real quick?
Yes.
I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to derail you. So keep.
Hold it. Come on. Yeah.
So listen here. Did I pull your hair?
Yeah, that's
it's
okay.
These chairs.
It's these chairs.
Anyway, the idea there is not that we become great. So don't mishear the heart of what we're saying. What we're hearing from God in increase is that we need to increase. In other words, we need to step up. We need to be ready to grow. We need to be ready to multiply, to pour into you, right? To increase
we need to increase ourselves spiritually. We need to increase ourselves in humility. We need to increase ourselves in wisdom. We need to increase and become who God designed us to be.
Yes, I just get excited hearing about that. I mean, I really do.
And what's so powerful about that is God also wants that for us. Not just from us, but for us. He wants to increase, like the prayer of Jabez. He wants us to stretch our tent pegs wide and to believe for more and to have greater influence, to move the needle for marriages for him, so that people can walk in the freedom and the life that he desires. And so as he's entrusted us with marriage ministry, He wants that for us. He wants to take the testimony and use the testimony of what he's done in our marriage and life and use it as a bridge for others to cross over. He wants more speaking engagements for us.
Right.
He wants all of those things. They're in perfect alignment, not to make our name great, but to make his name great.
That's right.
And that's where a lot of the confirmation came in. This song has been in my head. Like, I can't tell you. It's like
me too.
To you too.
Absolutely.
Not to us, but to your name be the glory. And man, when that song comes, I mean, there's just different seasons where different songs stand out. And when that one comes on, I'm telling you, I'm not a jumper and leaper, but I just am like, yes, not to us, but to your name be the glory.
Yes.
And what was so cool is as we started looking at the word increase and the definition, as we started looking at every scripture verse that went along with the word increase to test and to see, God, is this really the word that you want us to land on? He took us to Psalm 115, and in there it talks about not to us, but to your name be the glory. And then about 13 verses later, it goes in that God will increase you and your children. And it's so powerful because it was at that moment I was like, this is definitely it.
Well, and the definition, is it on that paper that's laying over there? The definition?
I don't know.
I wish we had that. I wish we could have read it.
Well, I can get it.
Won't you jump up and get it?
All right, hang on, I'll be right back.
Just let me keep these folks entertained here for just a second. You know where it's at?
Yep.
Okay. You can tell that I mean, I think you could anyway, that as she's talking there, like I get emotional about it. I still, like I'm having to keep myself really focused from not cracking here just a little bit, because this so resonates with our soul. And I believe that when you get your word, when you pray, you get something that hits you like that. And I'll tell you that it's been that way every year, where I was like, oh my gosh, this is awesome, and just like it causes me to be emotional or anything. But this year, it really resonates. So here's the definition of increase that we came across: to become progressively greater, as in size, amount, a number, or intensity. To multiply by the production of young. Now, we're done with that. Okay? I mean,
at least we think.
Yeah. I love my kids, and I mean, I do, but
we're ready for grandbabies.
I'm down with that. Okay, go, so but the increase in this has to do with the multiplication and the whole definition, the multiplication of what, and our whole plan for this upcoming year is about marriage multipliers. It's about getting other people who want to also have a passion for marriage and want to move the needle, right? In other words, to cause divorce rates to go down. But it's so much more than that. It is so not about driving the divorce rate down alone. It's about truly showing people and couples how to live and not just survive their marriage, but truly thrive in marriage, where it's like they want their kids to get married because their marriage is so awesome, right? And that's the way it really should be. That's the legacy that we should be living. So
if you want to be a marriage multiplier, we'd love to have you be part of the team. I'll make sure that I post that again.
Yeah, they can PM us too.
I mean, and you can PM us. Yep.
Personal messages.
That's great.
Was that okay?
I think so. Can you tell we're excited?
Yeah, a little bit.
So let's unpack it for you, right?
Yeah, there's one more step.
Sorry.
Do you want to do that?
Yeah, please do, because I don't know where we're at.
Well, okay, I'm sorry. Well, we talked about once we get the word,
right?
Then it helps us define and help shape our vision for the upcoming year. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So now that we have the word, what we're focused on is we're asking ourselves questions like this. You might want to write this down along with the other questions we asked earlier, but if we're celebrating, if you're doing a Facebook Live or you're sending us a note this time next year, it's December 2018. If you can go there in your mind, if you're proud of 2018, what is it exactly that you're proud of in 2018?
That's good.
If you're celebrating in 2018, if you're celebrating in December 2018, what is it exactly that you're celebrating? in 2018? Listen, I want to encourage you. Sometimes our first answer, again, are superficial answers. That's okay. Write them down. Write them down anyway. And then as you continue to reflect on those questions, what am I celebrating? What am I happy about? What am I proud about? What changed in December 2018 from 2017 in December? What's different 1 year from today than is today that you're really happy about and that you're celebrating, and hopefully that you're specifically celebrating with your spouse? Is it a financial accomplishment? Hopefully, yes. Is it a career accomplishment? Hopefully, yes. Is it something to do with your home or your environment? Hopefully, yes. Is it about your relationship? Yes. Your parenting and your kids? Yes. Your physical being, your health? Yes. In other words, categorize this in as many different domains of your life as you can possibly categorize it. One at a time. Think through them, okay? And come up with as detailed of a vision and a celebration as you can. Now you have a picture. Now you have a compass. Kind of like, I used this analogy a couple of times, but old Jack Sparrow's got a compass that points in the direction of what he really wants. Isn't that cool? You've got one too. It's your vision for 2018 in this case. Once you get that and you're able to write it down and document it in as much detail, allow yourself to expand on it. Don't try to do it all in one setting, okay? Then begin to align your life with the word that God gave you, or the phrase or the theme that God gave you for this upcoming year, and that vision that God gave you. Ask Him to speak to you in that vision. And as you get that, what you've done is you've just now created yourself a target for December 2018 that you can begin to go towards. Now, I know we have, even this morning, we had a specific situation that's been, it was unexpected decision that we had to make, and it was a very difficult decision that we had to make. Do you want to talk for a minute about that, or do you want me to?
No, you can go ahead. I think it's...
Okay. So we had the opportunity to go through a learning experience that is by invite only. It's very exclusive. And it's
we were really excited about it.
We've been preparing and scheduling around. It was a year-long commitment, but we were really, really, really excited about it. We're still excited about it, however, comma. Since we originally committed to that, there had been a couple of, just didos, unexpected things that came about. And one of the really, really positive unexpected things was we have additional opportunities in the arena of marriage ministry, and additional connections and additional speaking engagements, and just a lot of different new opportunities in the marriage arena. And so as it came about, we decided through prayer, and it was not an easy decision, but because we have this vision and because we understand our specific calling very clearly, we were able to say no to something that's really, really, really good opportunity, but that could hinder what God is absolutely, that we know that He's calling us to in life and in 2018.
And I think that shows the importance of having the word and having the vision, because when we have a clear vision, it helps us to know what to say yes to,
yes,
and what to say no to.
Yes.
And sometimes I think as we're following after God, when it can get really confusing or muddled if we don't have that clear vision, because both opportunities are incredible. And so we have to ask ourselves then, God, what do we need to remove to make sure we optimize what it is that you want from us and what it is that you want for us? And so as you have that time, as you carve the time, as you make fasting and those trigger points part of your walk this month, we encourage you to do that. And as you do that, as Greg was sharing, once you land on a word, test the word. We test the word through what has already been transpiring from reflection,
Yep.
as well as what God is already speaking, like through worship songs or scriptures.
Yep.
And then we look at the meaning of the word that begins to pop or become recurring in messages, maybe from that we're listening to through podcasts or through sermons.
Yeah, absolutely.
So as that reoccurring word comes up, then we test it, and we test to see, and we look at scriptures. And then finally, we need to get a clear vision. We need to.
How do you look at scriptures, and how do you do all of that?
That's such a great question.
Just real quick.
Yeah. So obviously you can, a lot of things are available through Google. I literally went and put the word, he will give the increase, Bible. And I put that in the Google, and it brought up every single verse. And then I started cross-referencing, because through Bible Gateway and Bible Hub and all these different great resources online, it makes it really simple. We used to have to use like this software that we had, but now Google and other search engines has made it easy, or big thesaurus and
right.
yeah. So all that to say, it makes it really convenient. So we cross-reference, start reading, and then once we get that vision, we start saying, okay, well, what does increase look like in our parenting?
Mm-hmm.
What does increase look like in our physical well-being? Yeah. What does it look like for us to increase intellectually, emotionally, spiritually, ministry, career, right? So we start looking at personal, family, community, vocation or career, and family. And so we look at all
finances.
Of this. And
finances,
yeah.
because we found, that the closer that we examine our finances, we're faithful in that we tithe religiously. I mean, we really do, and we don't, try to nitpick over pennies or anything like that. It's something we're very much committed to, and we've learned that you can't outgive God, and that's not why we do it. But we've also learned in the process that we can trust Him, and that I'm not going to steal from Him, and that's what I feel like if I don't give Him His 10%. The government wants more than that, right?
Yep.
And then, what was I going to say beyond that?
I don't know.
You know where I was headed?
Well, we were talking about getting a clear vision financially was the last piece of it.
Oh, as we've examined, thank you for bringing me up to speed. Sometimes this
he
brain
needs
works.
glasses in. No.
Need a new brain. Anyway, I think about ways that we need to dial in and be more disciplined in our finances as well. We need to reel in some of our spending sometimes, and we need to have some plans in place. People are laughing at me. We need to have some plans in place and some how do I want to say it? Some, not restrictions, that I don't like that word.
Just disciplines.
Well, it's disciplines, guideposts in place ahead of time for our spending, so that we can stay within keep it on the road and out of the ditch, if that's fair. Hey, we've gone a little bit over.
We did.
People still seem to be engaged. So
thank you
I love
guys
that.
so much for staying engaged here. I hope that helps. It really is how we center in on the Word. And as we clarify that vision, and we can just, if you're taking notes or you want to meditate on this later, we look at ourselves physically, intellectually, emotionally, spiritually. We look at the domains of our life, whether that be personal, family, career, or community. And then, of course, finances is a big part of that. And as we have that vision and we get as clear and distinct of what we'd love to see, what we're asking God for, and what He wants for us, and what God wants from us, and we continue to marinate in those thoughts, then what we do is we use that vision as a guidepost to know what to say yes to and what to say no to, so that we can truly invite God's direction for the new year.
And live into it, yeah. Because, at the end of the day, and you've heard us say this before, and it's certainly not our quote. I think it probably, I don't even know for sure where it came from, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, good is the enemy of great. And boy, every time that I quote it, every time I say it, every time I'm reminded of it, it's revealed to me where I settle for good instead of great. Your vision that we're talking about today, if it's really true and it's good stuff that's worthy of you, worthy of your energy, worthy of your focus, that you really will be celebrating, It will guide your yeses and your nos. It will help you. It will be your compass, just like old Jack Sparrow. You'll have your own compass that points right toward it. And when you come up along a decision, then you can discern very quickly whether that decision is going to move you closer to what you really want or further away. Hey, don't settle. God didn't create you to settle. He wants you to go for it, all right? So tune into him and see what it is that he has for you for 2018.
We'd love to hear what it is that God's speaking to you. So be sure to share that with us. We'd like to stand with you in prayer for it. Here's our verse for 2018, and we ask that you would stand with us in it.
Yes, please.
It comes from 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verses 5 through 9. It says, I planted, Apollos watered, but God gave the growth. So neither he that plants nor he that waters is anything, but God who increases and gives the growth. I just love that because it goes on then to say, he who plants and he who waters are one, and each will receive his wage according to his labor. For we are God's fellow workers. You are God's field, God's building. And our passion is to build into you. Our passion is to increase and to become better so that we can encourage you in your journey.
Yes.
And we want to thank you for allowing us to be a part of it. Please be sure to connect with us. If you want to be a marriage multiplier, PM us. I'll put some of the ways that you can subscribe to become that. We'd like to give you a free gift valued at over $100 to be able to lead some small groups and help in your communities and take this message that two are better than one.
Yeah, we've actually got some. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, God has a purpose for you. God has a purpose for your spouse. And when you're married, he holds a purpose for your marriage as well. And so if you are passionate about moving the needle towards Jesus for marriages, we'd love to have you part of the team.
We have some, can I go?
Yeah.
We have some, no, you don't have anything to apologize for. We have some really exciting stuff coming up in 2018, so stay tuned, especially for those of you who want to be marriage multipliers. If you don't fit into that category because you're not quite there, then, just a teaser. We've got some programs coming up. We're going to be offering some personal coaching for you in a group setting so that we can
we're going to help you unlock the secrets to a thriving marriage.
Oh man, that sounds good.
So be sure to be part of that mailing list so we can keep you updated as that unfolds.
Excuse me, how do they get on the mailing list? Did you tell me that
Yeah,
already?
actually on the Married for a Purpose Facebook page, if you look over at the side column that says sign up for weekly best, and that's all you can see over there in that column over to the left, but it's the very bottom underneath of our picture, and then you'll see like events, about, services, and the sign up form. If you click on that sign up form, you'll automatically be added to our weekly word of encouragement, and we'll be highlighting and sharing some information there as of when we're going to unlock the secrets. I like to unlock the secrets to a thriving marriage.
We got some keys.
We got some keys.
You know some keys?
Hey, be sure to share what word you land on for the month of December. Be sure to share how we can pray for you. And if you want to be a marriage multiplier, stay tuned. I'll be posting some links so that you can do that as well. Until next week.
I'm Greg.
And I'm Julie.
Dorman.
We'll see you next week.
You leave me hanging.
I don't know. See you next week in our